Yeah, can I borrow the pen again? I need to put thing in here about the postlude.
When you were on the board, did you know Alan Perkins? He was from.
Oh, yes. Oh, I do know.
Yes.
Oh, yes, I'll say hello to him.
Two measures. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 2, 3, go.
Standing on the ocean with the sun burning low in the west, like a fire in the cavernous darkness at the heart of the beast. With my beliefs and possessions stopped at the frontiers of my chest, at the edge of my country with my back to the sea looking east. When my search for the truth is conducted with a wink and a nod, and my power and possessions are created with the grace of God. These times are a famine for the soul, while for the senses it's a feast. From the edge of my country, as far as you can see, looking east, there's hunger in the midnight, hunger at the stroke of noon. There's hunger in the mansions, hunger in the rented rooms. There's hunger on the TV and hunger on the printed page. And there's a God-sized hunger underneath the laughter and the rage. In the absence of light, in the deepening night, I wait for the sun, looking east. How long have I left my mind to the powers that be? How long will it take to find the higher power moving in me? There's a power in the insect, power in the sea, power in the snow falling silently, power in the blossom, power in the stone, power in the song being sung alone, power in the wheat field, power in the rain, power in the sunlight and the hurricane. There's a power in the silence, a power in the flame, power in the sound of your lover's name. There's a power in the sunrise and the power of a prayer released. And on the edge of my country, I pray for the ones with the least. There's hunger in the midnight, hunger at the stroke of noon. There's hunger at the banquet, hunger in the bride and the groom. There's hunger on the X, hunger on the Facebook page. And there's a God-sized hunger underneath the question of the age. In the absence of light, in the deepening night, where I wait for the sun, looking east.
Good morning and welcome home to Live Oak Unitarian Universalist Church. I'm Reverend Joanna and my pronouns are she, her. Thank you for joining us. We who bring a teaching of hope, we who bring a saving message, who welcome all in our doors, Hindus and Sikhs, agnostics and New Age, straight, gay, lesbian and bisexual, cisgender, transgender, non-binary and intersex, all who are searching, seeking, looking for more meaning, more service, more love, all of us gathered here together. I'd like to invite you to put your phone on what we call the worship mode. That means it's not going to make any sounds during the service, but you are encouraged to send out messages to others, photos, videos, give them a little taste of what we have here, and maybe even give them an invitation to join you here next week. Would you please rise now, either in body or in spirit, and join us in singing Come, Come, Whoever You Are, and remain standing for our chalice lighting. You are wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving. Ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshiper,
Lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come.
Good morning. Our chalice today is being lit by Roger. This is a congregation bound not by creed, but by covenant. May those in agreement affirm our church covenant now.
We affirm a caring community of and for all ages, seeking wisdom, doing service, and living with integrity. In our diversity, our covenant holds us in unity as we celebrate our shared spiritual journey.
Hello, my name is Betty Johnson, and my pronouns are she, her. One thing I particularly love about Live Oak is our labyrinth. The labyrinth is always open to the public 24/7 out there, and today we celebrate the labyrinth's 21st birthday. I think there's cake during the fellowship hour. I'd like to welcome any guests that we have today. Thank you for taking a chance to walk through our doors and join us here for worship. If this is your first time here, please stop by the visitors table out the main doors here so that we can meet you and answer any questions that you might have. This is a church that's buzzing 7 days a week. The definitive way to stay up with what's happening is through our weekly email newsletter, and you can sign up for it at the visitors table in the Welcome Center. Our website is currently down, and we're working on it, but most of the time you can also go to our website to liveoakuu.org and click on what's happening to find out what's going on. Live Oak has many ways for you to connect with our beloved community beyond Sunday. Opportunities are shared on our website or our newsletter. And one event that's happening right after church at 11:15 is Breeze training. Breeze is our church management system and includes our online member directory. Tim Buckley is offering training for the next few weeks after services at 11:15 in room 106. So stop by and learn how to access your account, set up your profile, and what you can actually do with Breeze. Our call to worship today is by Sharon Wiley. It's okay to be tired of change. It's okay to be tired of everything that's different. Okay to feel weary of resiliency and wholeness and learning and growth. It's okay to yearn simply for rest. It's okay to be grouchy and unsatisfied, and all the ordinary human ways of being that we are. Let this morning be a reminder that you are loved. Let our time together soothe what is restless in you. May you be comforted in knowing that whatever you are feeling today and other days, you are not alone. You are never alone. Come, let us worship together.
Each Sunday when we gather as a congregation, we bring our joys and sorrows with us into this room. And whenever we ask for remembrance or prayer or thoughts, we make of this sanctuary a sacred circle. And we have several joys and sorrows here today. Sue Buckley shares, be sure to see the large crop of blooming blue bonnets out on the chalice circle. An admirer says, it's Sherry Hoyt's birthday, don't ask. Colleen Beery shares, it was a joy to make intuitive collages yesterday. Many thanks to Betty Johnson for introducing us to this spiritual and creative activity. I hope we will make this a regular activity. Tracy Willis says, grateful to welcome my grandnephew, Rory Christopher Wyatt, to the world. Wonderful. Crystal shares the joy that I was able to celebrate an amazing start to my birthday with our Journey Circle here at church and ready to drum it up after service to continue the celebrating. Luke West shares that there is an awesome free music festival called Honk next weekend. He will be playing with 2 bands, and it's a great time. More info at honktexas.org or ask him. And Bill Dower is thanking the musicians and David on the soundboard, and also a joy of a healthy granddaughter, Sophia. For all the joys and sorrows, spoken and unspoken, we bear witness with our care and concern. Please join me in singing.
Make us so where we are a sanctuary, each made holy and loved right through. With thanksgiving, we are a living sanctuary anew.
Please rise as you are willing and able for hymn number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song. Or, how can I keep from singing?
My life goes on in endless song, a marvelous lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn, that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? When all the tempest round me roars, I know the truth it liveth. For the darkness round me close, songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to the rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when dreams rejoice both far and near, how
Good morning. I am Chris Drummond. I'm your Director of Lifespan Faith Development, and I have a question. Did you know that there's a story in the Hebrew Bible about a guy who got swallowed by a giant fish? Yeah, a giant fish. His name is Jonah, and he was a prophet, which is just a fancy way of saying he got messages from God and had to tell people about them. One day, God told Jonah, go to Nineveh and tell the people there they need to shape up or things are going to get bad. But Jonah didn't want to go. The people of Nineveh, they were not his friends. And besides, he thought, who would listen to a prophet anyway? So instead of following orders, Jonah hopped on the first boat going in the opposite direction. Yeah. Well, turns out he couldn't run from his God. As soon as Jonah set sail, a huge storm rolled in, and the sailors began to panic, and Jonah finally had to say, this might be kind of my fault. So get this, he actually told the sailors to throw him overboard, and they did. He didn't want them to suffer from his bad decision. But instead of drowning, Jonah got swallowed by a huge fish. Not a shark, not a whale. A huge fish. Jonah sat in that fish's belly for 3 days and 3 nights. And I have the feeling it smelled quite fishy. He had a lot of time to think. It was like the world's longest time out. Finally, the fish spit Jonah back out. Blah, gross, right? And his God said, now, where were we? Oh yeah, Nineveh. This time Jonah went, and he told the people to change their ways. And surprise, they actually listened. They decided to be better people, and God forgave them. Happy ending, right? Well, not for Jonah. He got mad. He wanted the Ninevites to get in trouble. He stomped off in a sulk. But God basically said, Jonah, don't you see? Everyone deserves a second chance. Even you got a second chance. And that's the big lesson. Love and forgiveness aren't just for some people. They're for everyone. Even the people we don't like. Even when we mess up. Pretty cool, huh? So if you ever feel like running from something hard, or if you ever get stuck in a big fish kind of situation, just remember, sometimes we all need a second chance. And luckily, love and forgiveness are always bigger than any mistake, even a giant fish. I'm sorry? Don't make assumptions, that's right.
I need my words. This song has a lot of words. Ayo, ayo, ay, 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 ayo, 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 ayo. I was left to my own devices. Many days fell away with nothing to show. And the walls kept tumbling down in the city that we love. Great clouds roll over the hills, bringing darkness from above. But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing's changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like you've been here before? How am I going to be an optimist about this? How am I going to be an optimist
optimist about this. We were caught up and lost in all of our vices. In your pose as the dust settles around us, and the walls kept tumbling down in the city that we love. Great clouds roll over the hills, bringing darkness from above. But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing's changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like you've been here before? Now how am I going to be an optimist about this? How am I going to be an optimist about this? Ayo, 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 ayo. Where do we begin? The rubble or our sins? Oh, where do we begin? The rubble or our sins? And the walls kept tumbling down in the city that we loved. Great clouds go over the hills, bringing darkness from above. But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing's changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like you've been here before? Now how am I going to be an optimist about this? How am I going to be an optimist about this if you close your eyes? Does it almost feel like nothing's changed at all? Ayo, 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 ayo.
The late Molly Ivins said, "I dearly love the state of Texas, but I consider that a harmless diversion on my part and discuss it only with consenting adults." Our reading today is an excerpt from her essay, "Is Texas America?" written in 2003. What still makes Texas Texas is it's ignorant, cantankerous, and ridiculously friendly. It's authentically awful, comic, and weirdly charming all at the same time. The politics are probably the weirdest thing about Texas. The state has gone from one-party Democrat to one-party Republican in 30 years. Among the various strains of Texas right-wingism, it's factually incorrect to call it conservatism, is some leftover loony John Birchism, now morphed into militias, country club economic conservatism, and the usual batty anti-government strain. Of course, Texas grew on the tender mercies of the federal government. Rural electrification, dams, generations of master pork barrel politicians, and vast subsidies to the oil and gas industry. But that has never interfered with Texans' touching, but erroneous, belief that this is the frontier, and that in the Old West, every man pulled his own weight and depended on no one else. The myth of rugged individualism continues to afflict a generation raised entirely in the suburbs, with names like the flowering forests of Lubbock. Here, in the National Laboratory for Bad Government, we have an antiquated and regressive tax structure. High property, high sales, no income tax. We consistently rank near the bottom of every measure of social service, education, and quality of life, leading to one of our state mottos, thank God for Mississippi. As Willie Nelson sings, if we couldn't laugh, we'd all go insane. This is our redeeming social value and perhaps our gift to progressives outside of our borders. We do laugh. We have no choice. We have to have fun while trying to stave off the forces of darkness because we hardly ever win. So it's the only fun we get to have.
So, this past November on election night, when it became apparent what was happening, I have a friend who lives in D.C. and follows politics very closely across the country, and he said, well, actually, for those of you in Texas, at least at first, there's not going to be a dramatic difference because you're already living under Project 2025. I oddly that night took some comfort in that, probably because I was desperate for comfort, whatever form it took. But he's right, and if you look at Project 2025, so much of what you will find in that vision is already happening in Texas, and in some cases has been happening here for a long time. I think that sometimes for those of us who live in Texas, we don't always want to face the enormity of the reality. But sometimes we need to take a moment to do that. The reality is, in Texas right now, if you become pregnant, before you have even realized that you are pregnant, you have lost certain rights over your own body. And not only do you have less control than someone else over your own body, you have fewer rights than a corpse. It is not legal to save the life of another person by taking the organs of someone who has died without their prior consent or the consent of their family. On top of that, you have fewer rights than a hospital. A hospital can prioritize their safety from being sued over your actual life. This has been decided by the court of law, and the Supreme Court declined to interfere with that. Additionally, now, if you are going to go to a state with your body to do what you feel is best, there are certain roads in Texas that you cannot travel on. This is reality. Also, in Texas, first of all, if you are under the age of 18, no matter what your family circumstances are, you cannot get prescription contraception for yourself without the consent of your parents. But then, if you have the consent of your parents and it is what you want, and you have the support of the entire medical institution, the right to determine your gender-affirming care lies with politicians. They take priority over all of that. If you are an adult and transgender in Texas and on Medicaid, you can no longer get the gender-affirming care that you need. And don't go to Odessa, because if you go to Odessa, you can't go to any public bathroom. It is the purview, the constitutional authority of our federal government to decide on what will happen at our borders. In complete contempt of that, the governor of Texas created his own laws. DEI, a lot of universities, other places having to deal with that right now. Organizations having to scrub their websites. We've been dealing with that for 2 years. Ask us how it's going. To live in a place where, as Pete Buttigieg recently made the point, rather than diversity, equity, and inclusion, people want uniformity and inequity and exclusion. That's our reality. You want to talk about voting rights? Come to Texas. Ever since the Supreme Court stepped in and said, "Oh, no, we don't have to worry about voter disenfranchisement anymore. That's all taken care of," Texas said, "Challenge accepted." And then there's deregulation. That's one of the interesting things. With Project 2025, because so much of it is based around a radical right-wing religion, people sometimes forget that that religion also includes things like business and, the holy grail of deregulation, which we've been living under for a long time. Come and ask Texas how that's going. But I mean, really, how important is electricity anyway? We don't need a power grid. So, yes, welcome to Nineveh. I imagine that most people in here have friends or family who live outside of Texas, perhaps even in blue states. And while those people are right now waking up to a world where there are leaders who don't believe in things like due process and checks and balances and diversity, equity, and inclusion, we've already been living here. And we have the scars to prove it. But we also have learned things along the way. And we have some strategies to combat this. So as you are talking to those friends who right now are probably in a state that we have been in years ago, right? Going, how can this be happening? You can share with them what it's actually like to live in Nineveh. I imagine that many of us, as yet another thing has happened in Texas, have thought, a large fish, you say. That doesn't sound so bad. Can I choose that? But we are here. We are here for different reasons. For some people, it is for jobs. For other people, it is family. And for many of us, it's because this is our home. And we want to fight for our home. I don't know how many generations you have to be in a place before you can call a place your ancestral home. But for my kids, that's 8 generations. When I go and swim in Barton Springs, I can feel my ancestors around me. Let me be very clear. I am not claiming any indigenous nature. But this is my land too. And like so many, we are here to fight. So some of the things that we have learned living in Nineveh that we should probably share with others. First, beware the camel's nose. Anyone familiar with this metaphor? Okay, I see a few nods. The metaphor, the saying is this, which is, once the camel gets his nose up under the tent, it is only a matter of time before the whole rest of the camel is coming in. And that is what has happened in Texas. I will say the one thing that is different from so much of what we are seeing on the national stage right now, the shock and awe, is that in Texas, a lot of times that's not how it happened. It happened with the nose getting up under the tent. And sometimes we weren't prepared for that. Sometimes we didn't stop and go, wait, this is just this is just the tip of it. We need to act now. An example of that is with abortion. Now, before the Dodd's decision that would overcome Roe v. Wade, we were already under very strict abortion restrictions. And there have been, over the decades, that has come, sometimes slowly. Most recently, what led us to this just before Dodd's point was in 2013, House Bill 2, which, sure, you can still get an abortion. We just want to make it safer for you to get an abortion. And so there were then these guidelines, these regulation, oddly from the same people who really are, for deregulation, that said things like an abortion center has to have doorways that are this big by this big, and the rooms have to be a certain measurement as well. Measurements that, by the way, most of the places did not already have. That's how it starts, is something as seemingly innocuous as that. Or, as happened a few years ago, transgender teen athletes, which affected not even a handful of people. And so we did not, as an entire state, show up realizing that this was the camel's nose. So that's lesson number 1. Beware the camel's nose. Lesson number 2 is realize that time can be a weapon. I am absolutely convinced that in Texas, for the ultra-right wingers, the lesson that they took from Juneteenth was all about buying time. Y'all know about Juneteenth, right? So, the Emancipation Proclamation, the amount of time between the Emancipation Proclamation and when the news finally arrived in Galveston, or actual enforcement arrived in Galveston, was 900 days. Texas had 900 more days of slavery than other southern states. And I think that that was the big lesson, because when you look at the things that have been done through the Texas legislature, this was so often the name of the game. And what the pattern used to be, like that one with the abortion centers and the doorways have to be this certain measurement, is they knew at the time that this was unconstitutional. But it was all about buying time. And they said, okay, sure, it's unconstitutional, but you got to go through a lot of courts, and it takes a lot of time. And that worked. There were more than 40 freestanding abortion centers at the time of House Bill 2. By the time it made its way to the Supreme Court, and that Supreme Court said, this isn't constitutional, get out of here, we were down to 19. And those others never opened up again. And this is one thing that I'm not sure that people in other states understand, is how time itself can be weaponized. And of course, now it is a very different Supreme Court. Before, there would at least be this idea in Texas of, okay, we all know what's constitutional and what's not constitutional. The guardrails are off. And so as far as I can tell, there's a lot of leaders, I don't know that I would call them that, but they would call themselves that are saying, well, let's just see. How far can we push it? Time can be weaponized. But here's the other lesson that other people in other states need to learn, and that is people still want bipartisanship. And even today in Texas, the majority of the legislation that is passed comes through bipartisanship. And so for those who do not have the numbers, do not have the legislative power, it becomes a matter of looking for where are the things that still actually reflect our values. We're not talking about appeasement. We're not talking about a false compromise. We're not talking about okay, maybe if we do this for them, they'll do this for us. It's finding those things and being in touch with the people and continuing to constantly echo, these are the things that people really care about. Right now, it's happening. Ironically, the same person who passed the abortion bill that said that basically made other people vigilantes that could sue someone who was getting an abortion, that same person has now realized, oopsie, we actually have people dying and maybe we should do something about it. It would be understandable for those on the left to be like, hey, you made this mess, except that actual human lives are involved. So we have been and will continue to look for those things. And on the national stage and in other states, because here's the thing, there's a lot of people who thought that they were in a blue state who woke up after the election, Michigan, with a surprise, right? You look for where you have value and where you can work together, trusting that the people's voice can still be heard. And sometimes you may even look up and find that you, the weaker numerically side of the movement, I'm not going to say we're the weaker side of the movement, but numerically, you may find that there is a surprise. And that being strategic, you can actually control some things, as happened this January with the election of the Speaker of the House. It can be hard, it is hard, living in Nineveh. I am sure that just about everyone in this room has had to hear someone say something like, well, why don't you just move? And hear me say this. If you move, you are not going to get any criticism from me, especially when you are doing it to protect your loved ones. But I'm also not sure where exactly you can move to in the United States where you're going to be safe right now. Here's the other thing that we Texans have learned. We are not the first to fight the important fight. We stand on the shoulders of giants. And so we look to them for their inspiration. Yes, this is Nineveh, but this is also the state of Ann Richards and Cecile Richards and Jim Hightower and Al Green and Jasmine Crockett and Barbara Jordan and the great activist Willie Nelson. And us. We did not ask to come to Nineveh or for Nineveh to come to Texas, but here is where we are, and we have power. Would you join me now in a moment of reflection in words and in silence? This is Try to Praise the Mutilated World by Adam Zagajewski, translated by Claire Cavanaugh. And I'd say make yourself a little more comfortable if you can. Close your eyes if that helps you to go inward. Try to praise the mutilated world. Remember June's long days and wild strawberries, drops of rosé wine, the nettles that methodically overgrow the abandoned homesteads of exiles. You must praise the mutilated world. You watched the stylish yachts and ships. One of them had a long trip ahead of it, while salty oblivion awaited others. You've seen the refugees going nowhere. You've heard the executioners sing joyfully. You should praise the mutilated world. Remember the moments when we were together in a white room and the curtain fluttered. Return in thought to the concert where music flared. You gathered acorns in the park in autumn, and leaves eddied over the earth's scars. Praise the mutilated world, and the gray feather, a thrush lost, and the gentle light that strays and vanishes and returns. And let's hold that for a moment in silence. And with great gratitude for the sounds of babies and children, we say Amen. Please join me in singing.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me,
Come to me. We are the tradition of the Free Church. Our church and our community outreach are supported not from an outside source, but from within. We invite each of you to make a financial contribution to help sustain this church's vital work, knowing that every gift, large or small, is appreciated and carefully used in service of our mission. This month, our plate is shared with our English for Second Language program and Adult Basic Education program, two programs that really do a service to the community around us. The QR code or text information for donations is available at the back of the seat pocket. If you would like to donate by credit card, Apple, or Google Pay, somebody from Stewardship can assist you near the kitchen after the service through the main doors. As the ushers come forward to receive our offering, I invite you to say with me these words. We are building beloved community with our labor and with our treasure. With gratitude, we receive the offering. May it help us fulfill our mission in the world.
Now, you may not be a seventh generation Texan, you maybe only came to Texas last month, but as that great and heroic Texan Lyle Lovett sings, that's right, you're not from Texas, but Texas wants you anyway. As we sang in our first hymn, ours is no caravan of despair. The other big lesson that we know from living in Texas is that you don't do this alone. We are all in this together, and together we have power, we have joy, and we have celebration. So may it be.
So let's do that. Let's empower some dreams and encourage growth and embrace joy today during our Faith Development Hour. Today we have a whole church drumming circle in the Common Ground room. If you don't have a drum, we have instruments for you to use, and our bodies are always instruments, right? So I invite you to come out, get a cup of coffee, say hello to someone, and head out to Common Ground for drumming today. Also, we have the Breeze training that was already mentioned in room 106. The safety team will be meeting today at 1. You got time to drum, go get some lunch, and go to the safety team meeting at 1 o'clock in room 105. The meditation group meets 12:30 to 2 in room 208. I also want to invite you, a last-minute addition that I've added for faith development is we have the opportunity to engage in UU elevator speech. It's online. April 2nd, the 9th, and the 16th. It's 1 hour, just 7 to 8, and it is a workshop that will help you construct your UU elevator speech. 3 minutes or less. What does UU mean to you? Come on up. So if you'd like to take that class, there is a QR code in the Welcome Center. Just hit that, fill out the form, and we'll get you registered. And that is through the UU Church, First UU of Dallas. And Nancy is going to share some things.
Just one short thing. Do you know, I know we are all a welcoming community. We really are. And do you know that to welcome people on Sundays in church, there are 27 different little opportunities to help welcome. And what we're trying to do is these 27 opportunities are before church, after, and during the service. So I don't want to overwhelm you, but I really want you we have a survey that as you leave the room, and after you talk with Reverend Joanna, to fill this survey out. There are spaces, we're handing them out after the service, but whether you're a morning person or you're not and you could help after the service, also, you could set up a team where you could help on a given Sunday, not repeatedly, but just, all the dads and kids or families with small children. Or it doesn't have, mostly it's us old people that are doing this. But anyway, there are pens out there. Please take the survey. We want your input because we're continually evolving. And you have ideas for how we could be more welcoming, fine, put it out there. Just one time, one thing, maybe that you might find something here that interests you. And if you don't, no pressure, but we all want to be welcoming. You know that, we know how we feel when we go to somewhere strange and nobody pays attention. And if you're one of the 7 people that filled this survey out online through the newsletter, thank you, Rob Sarton, for being the first one to do that. But if anything else, I just want your feedback. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Nancy. Just simple ways that you can get to know people better and form relationships, because we all know communities where it's at, especially right now. So there's so many ways for you to connect and learn and grow today, and I always want you to remember that there's a place for you here, and you're not alone.
The first time I stepped into a Unitarian Universalist church, the hymn we're going to sing as our closing hymn was on the docket that morning, and it's grown to be one of my favorite hymns in our hymnal. Please rise as you're willing and able to sing number 121, We'll Build a Land. We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come build a land where all of the people anointed by God may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land where we bring the good tidings to all those afflicted and all those who mourn, and we'll give them garlands instead of ashes. Oh, we'll build a land where peace is born. Come build a land where all of the people anointed by God may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. We'll build a land building up ancient cities, raising up devastations from old, restoring ruins of generations. Oh, we'll build a land of people so bold. Come build a land where all of the people anointed by God may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Please remain standing as Roger extinguishes our chalice, and we say these words to each other. We extinguish the flame here that it might grow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together again. It has been a gift to be together again. I want to thank the home team who provided the hospitality and the worship and the tech leadership this morning, as well as some assembly required for our beautiful music this morning. They have, you may be seated. Some assembly required has provided us with a postlude to listen to before we go to hospitality.
This song was written quite a while back, and it had absolutely nothing to do with politics at the time. But I'll leave it to you to figure out whether it resembles anybody that you might know about.
No one knows what it's like to be the bad man, to be the sad man behind blue eyes. No one knows what it's like to be hated, to be faded, to telling only lies. But my dreams, they aren't as empty as my conscience seems to
is vengeance that's never free. No one knows what it's like to feel these feelings like I do. And I blame you. No one buys back his heart. Their anger on my pain can't show through. But my dreams, they aren't as empty as my conscience seems to be. I have hours only lonely. My love is vengeance that's never free. When my fist clenches, crack it open, for I lose my cool. When I smile, tell me some bad news, before I laugh and act like a fool. And if I swallow anything evil, put your fingers down my throat. If I shiver, please give me a blanket. Keep me warm, let me wear your coat. No one knows what it's like to be the bad man, to be the sad man behind blue eyes.
Many thanks to David on the soundboard.
So please extend that Texas hospitality by spending the next 5 minutes talking with somebody that you don't know. Members, be sure to introduce yourself to any first-time visitors we have. They're the ones with the handwritten name tags. And show them where the visitors table and coffee are. Coffee is important in Texas. And here, especially in Texas right now, may we all know the blessings of fellowship.